Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. Today, we'll be talking something very important, and it's about a video that I came across. And this video is about a Korean beauty stores that has refused to supply Black people products in bulk, right? And this boils down to what this video is talking about. You all already know how in Black community there are so many Asian stores which even made it very, very hard for Black people to also start beauty supply stores, especially in that same environment, because most times when they open the stores, the agents do not supply the beauty store and beauty product to them. They would rather tell them to probably go to other Asian stores, like, that sell within them to buy from them, which does not make any sense, right? So it is called predatory capitalism. Now, you all already know that right from the onset, loan was given to them by to go to Black communities and open stores, right? Because they do not want them in their own community. So they were sent to a Black community to establish, which they actually did. And you all already know that most of the loans that were given to them, Black people actually could not get those loans. I mean, it's very, very hard for them to get the loans, making it hard for Black people's dollar to stay in their own community. You know what? Let's get into
Yes, this is really important. Asian Americans were redlined from opening businesses in white neighborhoods because white people didn't want Asian Americans operating in their neighborhoods and didn't want Asian Americans profiting off of white people. But because the positionality of Asian Americans is weaponized to oppress Black people, Asian Americans were being given loans to open businesses in Black communities, even though Black people were not able to receive loans to open businesses in their own communities. And as I've said before, as a result of this, Black wealth is essentially paid out twice when it goes to Asian American businesses. Once when the individual pays for the goods or services, and then again when the Asian American business owner removes the profit from the community. Because usually people open businesses in their own communities, and this is mutually beneficial, where the business owner is making a livelihood off of providing goods and services to their community. And by being a member of the community, they're contributing and they're investing back into the community. This is an ideal situation, and that is not what happens with Asian American businesses operating in Black communities. I'm going to respond to this in two videos, one speaking generally, and in this video I'm specifically going to address Asian control of the Black beauty industry. Now, this is a topic that is a huge source of tension between Black and Asian Americans. So before I get into it, I want to make a couple of things clear. As an Asian American, I have never liked saying a problem is a particular ethnicity or is not a particular ethnicity. However, in the past, when I have talked about this comment and referenced Asian Americans generally, I have been perceived as throwing all Asian Americans under the bus. So to make it clear, it is a relatively small percent of the overall Asian American population that engages in this business. However, it is important that we acknowledge that this predatory business behavior is a significant contributing source of the aggression and daily violence that is faced by many Black people. So now getting into it, there is such a prevalence of Asian-owned and operated businesses that sell beauty products for Black people in Black neighborhoods that at this point, Asians also control distribution and manufacturing. And what that means is that in this context, Asians do hold the systemic power to deprive Black people of economic opportunity by preventing them from opening these businesses in their own communities. A prospective Black business owner can have secured financing, secured a property, and met all other licensing requirements, yet still not be able to open an account from a distributor because the distributors are Asian and they don't want Black business owners competing with Asian business owners. Now, this is something that is specifically East Asian. I've heard that Black business owners have better luck opening accounts with Indian distributors, and I would love to hear from people if this is true, because I would hope that it would create competition. Now, in case there are people who are thinking, I can't believe that in East Asian just said that she hopes that East Asian businesses are driven out, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I hope that competition can be created to finally dismantle a toxic dynamic that's been going on for way too long. Predatory businesses would be faced with a choice to either remain predatory and go out of business or become competitive and improve customer service, which is something that should have happened decades ago. Obviously, the issue of Asian American owned businesses operating in Black communities is a huge source of tension because it is part of the daily violence faced by Black people in their own communities when they are disrespected as customers, to the literal physical violence, as was the case of the salon in Brooklyn, where a Black woman was locked into the salon by workers while they beat her with broomsticks, to the damage done to the psyches of particularly Black children when they are accused of shoplifting. And this isn't a topic that I'm going to be able to cover in one video, but it is a conversation that I do want to start. I think that if you ask some people what was the source of the tension, they'll say the LA riots and what happened in Koreatown, but you cannot mention the LA riots without recognizing the unaliving of Latasha Harlins the year before. A 15-year-old girl who was unalived by an Asian shop owner who thought that she was shoplifting orange juice, but the money to pay for the orange juice was in her hand when she was unalived. To overlook that is to value profit and property over Black bodies, which is at the root of the United States systemically racist system and capitalism. But I think that we have to go all the way back to the Civil Rights Amendment of 1964 and then the opening of Asian immigration in 1965. So in 1964, white power structure almost faced accountability to Black people. Black people should have started to be able to receive loans to open businesses in their own communities. But instead, in 1965, the United States opened the door to Asian immigration, and redlining meant that Asian Americans were receiving business loans, but only to open businesses in Black communities, and Black people were still not receiving loans to open businesses in their own communities. So where you have this weaponized positionality of Asian Americans being put in Black people's way, of course you are going to have resentment not only over the supplanted opportunity to open businesses in their communities, but also over the fact that the Black dollar is now being paid out twice. Once when the customer pays for the goods or services, and then again when the Asian business owner removes that wealth from the Black community. And I frequently heard the tension being framed as mutual misunderstanding, where these Asian shop owners didn't know about the civil rights struggles of Black people, and Black people were not familiar with the culture of Asian business owners. But I don't think that it can be framed as mutual misunderstanding where there is an uneven power dynamic. You have one demographic that is the business owners, and you have the other demographic that is having to pay. So where there is uneven power, I don't think that it's accurate to frame it as mutual misunderstanding. Asian American businesses have been operating in Black communities for 60 years. I'll say it again. The Civil Rights Act passed in 1964, and the United States opened the door to Asian immigration in 1965 to put immigrants in the way of Black people. And this idea that the tension between business owners and customers is one of mutual cultural misunderstanding that could be overcome if they just got to know each other better, the time for that has long passed. And as I've said before, the problem with framing the misunderstanding as mutual is where one demographic owns the businesses and the other demographic has to pay. There's no mutuality. There is a power imbalance. The only situation that I could see being beneficial at this point would require Asian Americans to be willing to leverage their ability to secure the business loans, to secure supplier accounts, and to attain business licenses, to open in Black communities specifically to hire Black people to work in the businesses and to provide the professional development opportunities so that Black people can become the leadership in the businesses in their communities. But I don't have a lot of hope that Asian Americans are willing to do that because the Asian American business owners that we see currently are not even willing to treat their Black customers as human. So I fully support Black people boycotting these problematic businesses in their community. And I want to say that I think another thing that non-Black people aren't aware of is that it is not as simple as boycotting the businesses and putting them out of business and then opening your own to compete. Because the system will find ways to still not give them the loans or rezone them so they can't open a business or not grant the business licenses. And suppliers are literally conspiring against Black people who have managed to open a business in their own community to not supply to them because they don't want Black people competing with the Asian American owned businesses in the community. So I wish that I had more to offer in the way of solutions, but I really don't. But please do not gaslight Black people with respect to what the issue is.
In this, we can recognize that a lot of us think that we can hustle our way out of white supremacy or that we can just simply buy back the block. And a lot of those methodologies are absence of how policy plays into how resources are distributed in our community and also ignores how policy gives access to our communities. What we can acknowledge, and when she was speaking, is that in 1964, there was a Civil Rights Act that was passed, and in 1965, there was an Immigration Act that passed. We recognize that these two policies had a determining factor in how the Black community operates to this day. What I know is that when it comes to different restaurants, different nail salons, different beauty stores, that these businesses are usually owned by non-Black people, however, operated within the Black community.
With the Civil Rights Amendment passing in 1964, and then immigration opening up in 1965, and recognizing this pattern of using immigrants to basically get in the way of accountability to Black people. So it's like, okay, the Civil Rights Amendment finally passes. There should be some accountability. Systems should be changing. And then all of a sudden you've thrown a group of people into the mix who don't have context. Like they've just arrived. You know, my mom and my dad, my mom arrived in the 50s, but my dad arrived in the 60s. Those opportunities, right? Like those educational opportunities, those business opportunities, those resources, that with the Civil Rights Amendment should have been opportunities for Black people who fought for those civil rights are now, you know, and I hesitate to say this because I don't want to say that Asian Americans don't work hard and that they don't deserve what they get, but you know, they arrive and that opportunity is being given to them. And we even know that with the Civil Rights Amendment passing in 1964, that doesn't mean like, oh, everything, that doesn't mean that there's no more discrimination, that, you know, 1964, that's shut the door on discrimination. An amendment passes and you still have all these states with legislation and we know that systems still haven't changed. So
I think something that had really brought me into your video is the historical and the policy analysis about the issue. Usually when we start talking about how there are a lot of non-Black owned businesses in the Black community, I think it's done through a way where we kind of perpetuate pathology. So what I like about your nuance in your video is that you say something important like, hey, it's not just cultural differences.
right.
When people own and when people buy, that's not balance.
So yeah. So when I was learning more about it, I was reading a paper that described it as mutual understanding or misunderstanding, mutual misunderstanding. Like after the LA riots, they would interview Asian, you know, there would be business owners who would say like, oh, well, we didn't know about the civil rights struggle. So if we had known, we would have been more sympathetic to the community. At that point, I feel like, okay, but it's been like over 20 years.
Yeah.
No. And I was like, but again, there's no mutuality because there's a dynamic again where it's the business owners versus customers and it's business owners in the neighborhood of the customers. So that's a power dynamic. And I think something that I wish I didn't feel as cynical about, is it's been so long that I feel like if these businesses wanted to do better, they could have done better by now. So I kind of like, at this point I support boycotts. I support boycotts. I get called a traitor for that because they're saying like, you know, you're advocating for people to not support Asian American businesses. And I'm like, but if they're going to engage in predatory capitalism and if they're, not going to do right by the communities that they're in, then what else do you do? Like, there's no more explaining.
I'm doing a little research on my motto: research over me search, research over me search. I got this from the journal was called The Misinterpretations and Injustices, the 1992 Los Angeles Riots and Black and Korean Conflict by King Kok Chung. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I apologize if I'm not. It says, there are several problems associated with such reasoning. First, most recent Asian immigrants have brought with them considerable economic and cultural capital, unlike African Americans who had suffered centuries of slavery and attended poverty and illiteracy. Second, just because Asian Americans have not sought welfare or medical aid from the government does not mean they have not need of such help. The simple lack of wherewithal, such as a fluency in the English and knowledge about the U.S. social system to seek it. Third, the myth of the model minority homogenized all Asian Americans when many Chinese Americans, Filipino Americans, Vietnamese Americans, Cambodian Americans still live below the poverty level. What we see here is that there's a concerted effort of anti-blackness and how light over dark, white over black becomes a structural modality that allows for different people to value different individuals and create this hierarchy. What we understand is that even given this hierarchy, I can acknowledge as a black person, there has been a lot of people and a lot of sentiments in our community that have internalized this idea of the myth of the model minority. And what we know from doing different interviews and talking to different people in the Asian community and in the black community, that this myth of the minority is one that is asserted, that is able to almost sustain, legitimize the idea of divide and conquer.
But I'm saying that I understand why, like, nervous trolls are like, oh, you're blaming white supremacy, and there's not even any white people involved. Like there are no white people.
That's the masterfulness of white supremacy, man.
Yeah.
If I can be present without being present, that's like, if you can acknowledge that whiteness and white supremacy operates by being like always being present without being present, it's kind of how it is. We can think about how in communities of black people, aesthetics and ethics and morals of white supremacy, it creep into it. It's the reason why this work is so hard. That's the reason why we can acknowledge that even in places, because you know what we can do? We can center blackness. We ain't gonna center whiteness. We're gonna center anti-blackness. We can acknowledge that 7 continents in the world, everyone's continents are implicated in systems of anti-blackness. So we start thinking about the root cause of anti-blackness. We can acknowledge it's something about blackness and black people that the world views as being consumable and views as being something you can always separate black folks from what they create.
Right.
And it's just like, hey, I'm sorry, racist. Or you know what? I'm sorry, well-meaning white person or well-meaning person of color that believes that anybody can be racist and that believe we all should be singing Kumbaya.
Right.
The reason why we beefing is not because we both put our pants on the same. The reason why we have conflict is not because we both bleed red. If the reason why we can't see eye to eye, we got beef, it's not because we both part of the human race. It's because of these differences in the way in which we have bought into stories. So now I think it's important that people like you, people like me, tell our story in a way where we purposely and intentionally leaning into how do you and I understand each other better while working
So
through
this
this
is
shit.
all I got from this, and I absolutely love the point I consciously was making, because, and also, Ami Shen, she always come through, but the truth is that I really don't know why some certain things are happening, but they are just happening, It did not start today. It's been way, 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 way long ago that all this started. But the truth is that I think that Black community also gave Asians the platform to buy and sell. They did not try as much as they can or they could to stop some certain things from the onset. But I guess they are realizing that the platform that we're giving to them is then being used against them and all that. Because according to Amisha, she said it's a predatory capitalism or something, Now let's talk about something. While I saw this post, I was actually going through something and I saw a post that was made by a Black man. How Asian distributors do not let them, Black people, buy, or Korean, Asians, sorry, okay, they are the same. Korean distributors do not sell things to them in bulk. Why? Because they feel that they are also going to sell the products to Black people in their own community, preventing other people from coming to buy from them. I was in shock when I saw that. But then I think it's already time Black people, do their thing. Like I have been saying it all this while, and I am also promoting Black businesses and the rest of it. You might have to work to get it, but you just have to do it, right? I have also seen places where Black people who actually went to buy things that they ended up being followed all through the time they are shopping, probably because those stereotype and all that, and also not being very cordial to Black people when they are there to shop. I have brought so many stories here, and yeah. So another one is Black people spend a whole lot of money. When I say a whole lot of money, in Asian stores. Why? Because you all know how Black people, or should I say Black women most especially, I used to actually be like that before, but I don't do that anymore because I have my locks and I do not have to probably get my hair done and all that. We are going to buy more mousse, buy glue, buy, there is no spray. Women buy different. You need to see women's shelf when it comes to hair care and all that. It's always booming, right? And it's not cheap. All those things are not cheap. They don't come by cheap. You know what I am saying? They are expensive. The money we spend on our hair in a year, oh my goodness. I don't even want to say it, but then that is it, because our natural health sometimes is hard to maintain. People sometimes just want a cornrow and wear protective hairstyle and all that, right? But I think we can really do better, Instead of patronizing people that will probably give you a headache while you are trying to shop with them, it's okay because I have also seen Black owned businesses and all that, And you heard what also Amishan said, and consciously, instead of them you can't be spending your money where you are not wanted. I think that is one of the rules of being in business, right? When you are in business, or when you are a customer, you are a client, you are buying something from someone that is not nice. I don't think you should continue buying things from there. So that's why what I do is when I go out to buy something and probably I feel like I am not welcome, or you are not giving me the vibe you are supposed to give me and all that, I probably will not return there, and I would never refer anybody to you, right? And then let's get into the part whereby loans were not given to Black people. They were, to start up businesses and all that. I have also read all that, and a lot of Asians also came out to speak on that, to say that yes, loans have been given to them and still been given to them, but they are not giving Black people loans to start up businesses because they give them they get them loans to start up businesses in Black community, right? Because they do not want them in their own community, right? So go to Black community and expand and dominate, right? And also loans were not also given to Black people for businesses and the rest of it. So it's just been some kind of way, It didn't, like I said before, it did not start today. It did not start yesterday. This has been here for a longer time. And the best Black people can do, like I keep saying, we can do better for ourselves, because there is nothing as beautiful as seeing that things aren't going well and you decide that I am going to make a difference. I am going to do something good for myself, probably assist if I am doing great. I am also going to assist other people to also do great. By so doing, trust me, we will all we will be the top, right? So not just only, I mean, we can also be our brother's keeper, make sure that we are also being helpful to people that need help, especially in our own community. Because I am very, very much, because I mean, I am so much concerned about what is going on in my own community. All right. So that's all I have to say. Let me know what you all think in the comment section. I'll see you all in my next video. Bye for now.